Today's talk is on who you have come here to be, which I know you've heard me talk on before, but I had, as I was pondering this week, this extraordinary epiphany about myself that I want to share with you guys. But first, a joke. Knock, knock. Control freak. Now you say control freak who? So, as I was taking my walks with my dog and I was pondering what I wanted to talk on this week, I recognized that that's what I was doing. And that's how I spend so much of my time is pondering, thinking about the universe, spirit. I mean, I spend so much time doing that, staying in that realm, walking, thinking, experiencing, breathing in the sunrise, the sunset. And as I was doing that, it dawned on me, thank God I wasn't a surgeon. Because if I was a surgeon, people would die on the table because instead of concentrating on the surgery, I would be pondering the universe because that's what I do. And that got me thinking about how we are all directed in certain ways towards what's best for us to be doing. Because otherwise, we'd be doing things that didn't fit for us at all, that maybe after a very, very long time of struggle and hardship, we could get good at almost fighting life, fighting our own personal essence. And I realized how I had done that in my life. I had taken on jobs that were so against the personal essence of who I am that they made me sick. Now, many of you have heard me talk about the fact that I was once in the hospital with the doctors telling me I had 4 days to live. What I had been doing for the previous 3 years is selling insurance. Now, for some people, that's the perfect job, and they can thrive in that. But for somebody like me who is artistically inclined and who tends to allow my mind to wander to universal thoughts and places, the day-to-day grind of calling folks and presenting and doing the same thing day in and day out did not suit who I was at all and ultimately made me sick. I was talking to my sister this morning and I was telling her that I'm becoming to realize more and more that either we are spending our time doing something that feeds our health, or we're doing something that doesn't and is unhealthy for us. And that our recognition in that, in how we spend our time, is whether, in whether it feels like it's feeding our health or not, impacts the quality of our life. And so I started to think about others I know in the world and how they spend their time and what the possibilities are when we finally take on. One of the things, when we finally take on that which is most healthy for us and that which is most natural for us to do in whatever many different ways, because even in that, how it materializes is unique to you. I mean, when I say I have an artistic nature, there are millions who can say that. But there's something unique about my unique artistic nature and how I bring it forward in life that is very different from any of you who may have an artistic nature and how you bring it forward. I actually know an accountant who loves being an accountant. I've met many insurance salesmen who loved being insurance salesmen. So it is clear to me that there is nothing inherently wrong or right about any way in which we are pulled, any way in which we have preference. But there is definitely a healthy and not healthy for each one of us individually. And I encourage you to look at how you spend your time. And are you spending it in ways that are feeding your thriving, your health, your well-being? One of the things I was thinking about this morning was the course of my life. And as many men are, I was influenced very early on in my life by my dad and followed his way of being in the world because he was my dad and it pleased him when I did so. I have also spent for some of you have heard me talk about this, a large part of my life thinking my mom's influence on me has not been healthy. And in fact, it took me until about when I was in a cabin in the woods to recognize that she's crazy and that that's just who she is. And it's not for me to get upset about that. And in that acceptance, her and I had a great relationship the last couple of years of her life. It really shifted once I just recognized she did the best she could. But something happened today that I never anticipated. I started to see as I was looking at what those tendencies are that are healthy for me, that my mother, in very subtle ways, was trying her best to lead me toward those tendencies at a very early age and kept it up for many, many years, and I simply ignored it. My mom turned me into a great reader by throwing on my desk. All she would do is throw on my desk a book. She wouldn't talk to me about it, tell me to read it. She would just, every once in a while, there would be a book that she had simply thrown in my bedroom, on my bedroom desk. I mean, I'm talking about when I was in like second, third grade, very early, even first grade, up through middle school and high school. It never stopped. She was always just throwing books. And some of these books were risque. Some of these books were mysteries. But she had my taste down flat because I got to trust that any book she threw on my desk, I would like and I would read. And what that did was turn me into an avid reader, where later on in life, I took on reading every Pulitzer Prize written novel ever written, from the first to the last. I read them all because I love reading so much. And my mom was this gigantic influence in that. So I wonder if I'm not the only one who missed an influence, who really knew us well and was guiding us towards something that was actually really good for us, and we didn't even know it. This is a really good time to take a look at stuff like that. My mom took me to Broadway shows from the earliest I can possibly remember. My dad never took me to Broadway shows. This is what my mom did. And one thing I remembered this morning was that the first play that I directed, I was 6. I had seen a Western on TV, loved it so much. It was called Black Bart. And it was about a guy who was best friends with the sheriff, who was also the bad guy who went around robbing people. And the final scene is where the sheriff discovers that it's his best friend who's been this bandit. They have a shootout, and Black Bart is shot and killed. And I got so excited by this premise at 6, I pulled together two of my best friends and my brother, who at that point adored me and pretty much would do anything I asked. And we put on, and I directed them in a short version of this movie. I think the play went on 10, 15 minutes max. I did the stage production. I set up the stage for it in our bedroom, in my brother's and my bedroom. And I set up a place where people could sit and watch it and sold tickets. And we, of course, had a full house. And we put on this play. I was 6. My mother tried to guide me in that direction all my early years. But my dad wanted to see me play sports, which I love too, by the way. It wasn't that I didn't love sports. But now that I've directed 40 films, 40 short films, sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd followed the path my mom had set out for me that is clearly built into my unique way of being in the world that I never took a second look at. My mom used to sit around with me on Saturdays and we'd watch old movies and play Scrabble. And that was one of the ways in which we connected. And it's only in retrospect I realized that once again, she was doing her best to feed that part of me that was an artist that wanted expression in that particular way. And once again, I wonder how many of you might have missed those kinds of nudgings. Now, I'm not asking you to look at that stuff as a way of making yourself bad and wrong. Let's be clear about this. I'm not thinking about it as being bad and wrong. I'm thrilled that I found these ways in which I can appreciate my mom. So instead of subtracting from, oh my God, how different would my life done and what did I miss and all this stuff, it is added to my appreciation of my life as a whole. And that's part of what I bring to you today as well. The more we recognize who we have come here to be, how we spend our time healthily, the more you can, as I have, open up to all those who are in support of that in ways you may never have recognized, and gain new appreciation for the people who have passed through your life. Because that's beautiful. It's beautiful to find more and more ways to appreciate those in your life. It just cracks my heart open to see all the ways in which my mom supported me that I never noticed before. I am such a better person for it, for simply the recognition that she was there for me in those ways that I absolutely, until this morning, never thought of. Maybe for you, there's folks in your life who have been doing the same thing. Maybe for you, depending on your age, it's not too late to actually move in the direction of those yearnings. In fact, it doesn't even matter what age you are. It's never too late. It hasn't been too late for me. I continue to take on in deeper and deeper ways that which is clearly in me is who I am and who I have come here to be. I was 10 when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. In 1965, I was the youngest person on the planet ever to be diagnosed with it. And because of that, I got a lot of attention, unwanted attention from the health community around that. And for many years, I cursed my illness as the worst thing that ever happened to me. But in retrospect now, in looking back on how it set the course of my life in so many ways, I mean, my life has been a journey of healing, true healing, in a way that I have then been allowed and been honored to impact others' health. There are those who have come to me with terminal illnesses who have said, the doctors say I have less than 6 months to live. And they are, and everyone who has worked with me who has said that is still alive and still living because of all I have learned about what it is around health. That would have never happened if I hadn't, at 10, been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So this thing that I'd been cursing for decades turned into my greatest blessing and brought out in me that artistic self in ways that it never would have shown up if I hadn't gone on such a deep journey of health that at 40 led to doctors saying I had 4 days to live, 5 days to live. I look back on my life now and see it so differently than how I used to view my journey in terms of what I have been offered and in the goodness of life to bring to life. And I want you to know that that's true for each and every one of you. Any hardship you have experienced in life is there to bring out your best, is there to guide you to who you have come here to be and bring out those gifts that you have brought. Any gift you have been lucky enough to follow and intuit and be with for a good part of your life, if you ever run into an obstacle around that, thank that obstacle because it's somehow bringing you to a higher place. It's somehow there for you to bring out something that is yours to bring, that only you can bring. Each of us has a way of being in the world that's incredibly different from anybody else. Similar, yes, but we are unique. No two drummers are the same, keyboard players, singers, ministers. Now, I have been told a lot in my life how unique I am. And I think that's been an interesting impact on my life as well, because in many ways, I see the similarities between me and others. I see the ways in which we're the same, not the same, but similar. And for those of you who think you're just the same as everybody else, I promise you're not. You and I are similar in our uniqueness. When I hear Trish talk about stuff, I find great gift in her uniqueness of her perspective. Here we are, two ministers of science of mind who bring tremendously different perspectives. And that's beautiful. You know, those who in the world want to see everything the same, I feel bad for them. I have been lucky enough to experience such richness in life, in the diversity of people and experience and everything. You know, I don't wish 96 different jobs on anybody, but I got to tell you, the richness of it has been extraordinary. I don't think you got to make it to 100 to have that kind of richness. So I'm not recommending it. But milestones are cool. Doing something you have never done before. But that's not today's talk. Today's talk is on who you have come here to be. You are unique. You are beautiful. You have something special that is just yours to contribute to life that nobody else can. So don't stop. I don't care if you're 10, 20, 50, 70, 90. Don't stop. Your gift is still needed, is still desired by life itself, even if it doesn't look that way. I know in my life there have been many times it didn't look like anybody cared at all about the gift I had to bring. It has felt that way. That was my experience. But I can tell you now that that's only because of my perception, having nothing to do with the reality, which is in the gift, the uniqueness, and the beauty of each of us. You love life in your own personal way, and that's beautiful. You contribute to life in your own personal way, and that's beautiful. And I promise you that if you take time to look, you will see those all along your journey, your life journey, who have supported you in it that maybe you would have missed. I did. And I am so better off for having found that today. And I wish that for each and every one of you. Thank you. I love you. That's my talk for today.